This is when I kind of started to panic. I can barely hear the person. Yep, I'm stuck here. But I got stuck in an elevator. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and today I have actually kind of a story to tell you. So I'm in my living room today, first of all, which is very different for me. I don't normally film in my living room. I have a roommate, so usually I just try to stick to my room and whatnot, but she's been gone for a little while, so I figured I would change up the space a bit. I tried to still put my sign in the back, but it's so far away that you can't really see it. So let me actually try to put on the light. No, that's worse. Today I am drinking Penrose Hill Chardonnay. And as usual, it's great. I don't know anything about wine really, but it's a white wine and it's good. So cheers. Okay, so today I'm going to tell you guys about what happened this week, which is that I got stuck in an elevator. It was so ridiculous. So let me explain what happened. So basically I work at a place that requires me to go into the office every day, and unfortunately that's the case right now. I know most people get a chance to work from home, but I do have to go into the office. So I was at the office, and it's actually kind of a weird story, but I'm usually one of the first people in, and so I'm one of the first people to leave to go home. There's only about 4 of us in the whole office space. The building itself is huge. It's like 20 something stories, I don't know, but my office specifically is only about 4 or 5 of us. So it's pretty small, but it was nearing about 4 o'clock, which is when I generally go home, and I went to the bathroom, and as I was washing my hands, the lights went out, and I was like, this is weird. Not only that, but it was just like kind of creepy to be in a bathroom when it was just pitch black completely, and pretty sure there's supposed to be like security lights that stay on in case of an emergency, but that was not the case. So I was in the complete pitch black by myself, and I was like, okay, I gotta get out. Luckily on my flashlight, or on my keychain, I have a flashlight, and so I just used that, and I got back to where I was supposed to go, and in the meantime the lights came back on. So it was just like a surge, I guess. So then I get back to my office and I was like, hey, did you guys see that too? And they were like, yeah, it was so crazy. And I was like, yeah, no, I was just in the bathroom. It was really weird. And about 15 minutes later, it's 4 o'clock, and so it's time for me to go home. So I'm walking out, and one of my coworkers, who right now has been working remotely, happened to stop in, and he was like, hey, you want to help me carry down this monitor? I guess he had ordered a monitor to the office, and I was like, yeah, no problem. So I helped him carry it over to the elevator, and then we went down the elevator. When we were waiting for the elevator, there's like 4 elevators in the little space, I guess, and basically there's 8 elevators total for the building, and 4 of them go from floors like 1 to, or 2 I guess, to, I don't know, like 12 or something like that, and then the other elevator goes to 13 to 20, whatever. So we were in the elevator, and there was someone else that was there as well, and as we were going down, well, first of all, only the freight elevator would work. So 3 of the 4 elevators are regular ones, but the last one has padding on it, and it's meant for UPS drivers, people like that, and I guess maybe it like bypasses some sort of system or something, because that one was still working but the rest weren't. So we were waiting for the elevator, and finally the freight elevator comes and we go down, and as we're going down, the lady that's in the elevator with myself and my coworker was like, could you imagine if we got stuck in this elevator? And I was like, oh my god, that'd be so scary. I don't want that to happen. Mind you, this is like one of my bigger fears, is just getting stuck in an elevator, and I'm not sure why, but it was just always a fear of mine, but we'll get to that. So fast forward, we get down to the bottom, and my coworker's like, it was nice seeing you, because I never really see him. Like, I work with him all the time, but I never see him in person. So he was like, it was nice seeing you, see you next time, whatever, whatever. And I was like, yep, sounds good. And we go opposite ways. There's 2 doors in this building. One goes to the main street, and since he doesn't normally come to the office, he just parks on the main street, and the other one goes toward a parking structure, and the parking structure has its own set of elevators as well. So the parking structure has like 8 floors or something like that, and it has its own elevator system. So normally what I do is I walk out and I go to those elevators. I usually park around the 3rd floor or so. As I'm walking out the door, I guess there must have been another surge, and this wasn't just for our building. I found out later it was for a majority of our area. The mall next door also completely shut down. There's a yoga studio that's nearby, that one also shut down. So there was a lot of stuff that shut down. So it wasn't just like a building problem. So like I mentioned, I'm leaving, said bye to my coworker. I'm walking to the other set of elevators and I get into the elevator, and I thought twice about this as I was pushing the button. So I get into the elevator, I push the button to go to the 3rd floor, and I was like, I shouldn't be in this elevator right now because there was just a power surge. And then the elevator makes this really weird noise and all of a sudden it just stops. And I was like, yep, I'm stuck here. And I just knew it already that I was going to be stuck there. So at this point, I realized I had no idea what you're supposed to do when you get stuck in an elevator, because there's like a little button that says to pull it and push it or something like that. And I tried that and it didn't work. And then there's an alarm button. I tried that, nobody heard it. So then I noticed that there's an intercom button. And of course, when I go to push it, the intercom is like super crackly. I can barely hear the person. And I'm like, hello, hello, can you hear me? I'm stuck in the elevator. I can't even tell who it is at this point. And I know all the security guards in my building. And so for me to not know who it was, I was like, it sounded so bad. And so I kept saying like, can you please come? I'm stuck in the elevator. And what I was trying to say was, I'm stuck in the elevator near the parking structure, but it kept getting broken up. So all he heard was, I'm stuck in the elevator, or elevator is what he heard. So all of a sudden it just cuts off and goes dead. And this is when I kind of started to panic, because in my head, I was like, oh my God, he thinks I'm stuck in the elevator that's in the building and I'm near the parking structure. And if nobody knows that I'm here, how am I gonna get out? So I kind of started to panic a little bit, honestly. And I knew that panicking wasn't going to be the solution, but it just like, at first when you get stuck somewhere and you're not sure if anyone's gonna find you, it's a little scary. So then I started trying to call him again and he picked up again this time. And I don't exactly know where the intercom goes to, but again, it was just so broken up. I couldn't hear anything. He kept just saying like, I know I'm trying to get you out of the elevator. And I was like, no, I'm near the parking structure. And I kept just trying to say parking so that it would click, oh, she's by the parking structure, but I wasn't sure if it was working. So I grabbed my phone and I realized that there's just like 2 bars of service, which I was just like, that is plenty for me. And I call my coworker, and my coworker is the sweetest woman, and she's kind of like our mom of the group. Like even today she walked by and she was like, do you want a sandwich? And I was like, sure. And then she already had it ready and had given me just like a sandwich just because. So she just does things like that. And so I called her and I was like, hey, I really need your help. Can you please go downstairs and tell them that I'm stuck in the elevator near the parking structure? And she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm stuck in an elevator near the parking structure. And she was like, oh my God, okay. And just to say, this coworker had her car broken into, and then another coworker got into a car accident on her way home from work. So this was like a 3rd thing that happened to us that we were just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So she goes downstairs, she lets them know, and she starts getting like, I don't know how to say it because she wasn't ever aggressive, but kind of defensive for me. I think that's a good word for it. And she was like, what are we supposed to do? Should we call 911? Because they weren't really helping. And they kept just saying like, oh yeah, we'll get someone to come out, but they weren't really helping. And so she kept kind of basically saying, we're going to call 911 if you guys don't help out. And what happened was, it turned out that the elevator technician happened to be across the street at that mall, and he was working on something completely different. But then when the power went out, he was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get so many calls. So luckily he was just across the street. What happened next? So basically I just at that point calmed down, because I knew that now they knew where I was at. And I stayed on the phone with her for a little while. I guess one of my other coworkers ended up telling my boss, and because he wasn't there that day. And so I don't know, like I didn't really feel like he needed to know or anything, but so he knew. He called me. My coworker, the other one who told my boss, she ended up calling me so many times, like I want to say 30 times or so. Actually, I can check. I don't want to show the name or anything just because I don't want to show real names, but I got 27 calls from her while I was in the elevator. And what she was trying to tell me was that I needed to pull the red button and then push it back in, so then it would release me on the closest floor. But for what the issue was for my elevator, that wasn't working, which is why I wasn't picking up, because I had the office manager calling me, my other coworker, my boss, my boyfriend. I had so many people calling me. I also just want to say that I'm fully aware that this coworker was trying to help, but in the situation, it was honestly stressing me out even more, because missing 27 calls while you're trying to talk on the phone with other people and while you're stuck in an elevator is not fun. So I either way, finally I start hearing this knocking, and I at this point don't even know what floor I'm on, mind you. So I start hearing knocking, and I figured that the knocking was that they were trying to figure out what floor I was on. So I start banging on the door, and my coworker who had called me several times kept saying that I was stressed out at this point, and honestly I was not. This was exactly when I was not stressed out, and the reason why I was knocking so hard is because I figured they were going from the top down, which later down the line the manager told me that's exactly what was happening, and I wanted them to know exactly where I was. So I started banging on the door, and then they heard me, and then they were like, hey, I hear you, no worries, someone is coming. So at this point I'm super chilled out. One of my friends was texting me and he was like, hey, can you talk? And I was like, yep, I'm stuck in an elevator. So we just chatted for a while. One of the security guards, super friendly person, he called me as well and was just like making jokes, and he was like, what kind of dinner are you gonna have tonight? And like basically doing stand-up for one. And it ended up being really like totally fine. They let me know as soon as the elevator technician got there. They told me exactly what they had to do. I asked them which floor I was on, and it turned out I was exactly between the ground floor and the second floor, which really calmed me down because there was no crazy drop that could have happened. Elevators do have brakes for these emergency situations, supposedly according to this technician, but you know, just in case, I felt better knowing that I wasn't gonna just like come from the 8th floor and plummet down. So I was starting to calm down. I just like started sitting down, and I even took some pictures. I'm gonna put some up here, but I just started sending photos to people, and I was like, well, this is my life now. I'm stuck in an elevator. So then I start hearing these noises that are coming from my like roof kind of area, and I was like, that sounds kind of weird, and I realized that it was the technician coming down slowly. So I'm not exactly sure what he had to do. He was trying to explain to me that basically he tried to take a part from the other elevator, because there's 2 elevators near the parking structure that we have. He was trying to take a part from the other elevator and replace it, and when he did that, it turned out that that wasn't the solution, and so it was going to be a bigger problem. And so now his top priority was just getting me out of the elevator, because it had been about like an hour and 15 minutes at this point. So he comes down to where I'm at, and he actually tells me to move over to one of the sides, and I'm lucky enough where the light stayed on the whole time. The air turned off for a little bit, but air is constantly flowing through elevators, so it didn't stress me out. And soon the air turned back on, so it got cool again. So it wasn't the end of the world, but he ended up telling me to move to the side, and I have a photo here as well of basically he removed part of the ceiling in the elevator, and he just popped through and was like, hey, okay, so this is gonna happen and blah blah blah. And I kind of just reassured him like, hey, I'm not freaking out, take your time, do whatever we gotta do. And his thing was that he was going to try to open the elevator doors and see if I can climb out, basically. And we wanted to see, you know, how in the middle I was. And so once we opened the elevator doors, which I didn't get a photo of, and I was super bummed about it, but as soon as we opened the elevator doors, I was exactly in the middle. So there was like 2 inches of space on the ground floor and 2 inches of space on the second floor. So I was not gonna be able to climb out. So I don't know if I got an adrenaline rush at this point or what, but I basically told the guy, hey, if I need to, I can climb out the ceiling. And looking back on this, I have no idea why I offered this, because I am so terribly scared of heights. But again, I think I just had like an adrenaline rush or something. And he was like, okay, yeah, you know, in my 20 years of experience, I've never had to rescue someone that way, and I don't really want to, only because there's a huge falling hazard, because, you know, the elevator doesn't take up the whole space, so I could just fall down. And yeah, it's not that far, but it's a whole floor still. So he was like, let's try to see if there's anything else that we can do. And I was like, once he said that, I was like, okay, yeah, let's do whatever we can do. So I just kind of waited for a little bit longer, and he basically told me that he had to go underneath the elevator and push it up, because apparently it's easier to push elevators up than it is to push them down, or like, yeah, I don't know. This is just what Kevin, the elevator technician, was explaining to me, but he had to go underneath, push it up to the second floor, and then I could get out. And not going to lie, I was a little bit bummed because I didn't have to climb out of anything, but he came back to the ceiling and he was like, hey, just try to open up the elevators with your hands. It's gonna be super easy, just like go like that. And I was like, okay. And he went on the other side of the elevator doors and he did it as well. And then at the same time, we just opened it. And then I was like, whoa, okay, I'm out. And I was very disoriented because I didn't even know what floor I was on. And then I got out and he kept thanking me like profusely just because I was calm the whole time. And again, the only time I was really freaking out is when I wasn't sure that they were going to even know which elevator I was in. But once all that was said and done, I knew I was just gonna get out at some point. So yeah, I was like, yeah, no problem. You know, we all gotta have experiences sometimes. And I just honestly was at a point where I was like kind of excited because I was like, I get to tell everybody I was stuck in an elevator. So I was in there for a total of an hour and 45 minutes. And then I had to go up to the manager's office to explain what happened. I'm guessing that they have to do like some sort of incident report in order to get new elevators, but also so that they can make sure I'm good because they don't want anyone suing anybody. I'm not going to, obviously. It was just like a thing that happened. Like, it's not the end of the world. And so yeah, that was my adventure in my elevator. And I don't know, I was, like I said at the beginning, I was always so scared of something like this happening, of getting stuck in an elevator and freaking out. But I've learned that, like, especially recently, that in these situations when normally I feel like I would be super high anxiety like I normally am, I'm very, very calm and just kind of like, okay, well, this is what's happening now. And I'm not really sure why where I got that from, but I'm grateful that I end up acting that way. And I end up just really making a lot of jokes out of it because even the security guard who had been talking to me on the phone and joking with me, he actually had to be pulled away for a little while. And the next day I saw him and I was like, I was on the phone with you for like half an hour. And he was like, oh my gosh, you're Miss Jessica. And so now he just calls me Miss Jessica, and he just makes jokes with me every time I see him. And yeah, it was just like a big joke at the time and still is really funny to me. I know that this is something that's so terrifying to so many people, but I don't know if I try to just like really get logical in these situations or what, but I know that we have so many things that are improved in our technology that don't allow for us to just like plummet to the bottom and die when we're stuck in elevators. So I knew I was gonna be fine. So I guess that's why I was pretty calm. But nonetheless, it was a weird situation, and the whole time I was like, I'm really stuck in an elevator. And even now I'm like, I was only there for an hour and 45 minutes. Does that really count? And yes, it totally counts. And it's just funny too, because now everybody at work, like in the office, or in the building I should say, knows my name. So they're like, oh my gosh, Jessica, hey. And I'm just like the girl that was stuck in the elevator. I just think it's pretty funny, and that was my adventure in my elevator. I don't know if you guys have any crazy stories like that. The elevator technician said that this happens all of the time and that he's basically rescuing people daily. And yeah, and again, he was like, this has probably been my easiest rescue because you were just joking the whole time. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but let me know if you guys have had any similar experiences, or maybe what your kind of fear would be, because again, I thought this was going to be one of my fears, and then when I was in this situation, I was like, oh wait, this is not that bad. I was just like sitting down for an hour and 45 minutes. I hope you guys enjoyed this wine night. This one was a little different where I was just telling a story, and I do have a few more stories that I would love to tell you guys, either like cautionary or just like, oh my god, this happened, or looking back on memories. So I'll definitely be telling those soon. And I also got some requests in my Instagram DMs about a couple of other types of wine nights that I can do. So thank you guys so much for always suggesting things. I really do appreciate it. Either leave it in the comments, message me on Instagram, whatever you prefer, and I will try to do my best. And as soon as I'm ready for those ideas, I will let you know what they are, because I'm gonna need some of you guys' help as well. I hope you guys have a really great Saturday, and I will see you next time. Cheers!